Hey guys, so in today's video I'm doing a top 13 of 2013, but I read a lot of good books this year, so at the end I will have a few books that I feel are still worth mentioning, so let's get into it. Just to clarify, these are not books that came out in 2013. These are just books that I read throughout the year, and they are just books that stuck with me that I really loved. These are not really in any particular order, although I do have to say that this first book I'm going to show is my favorite book of the year and one of my favorite books of all time. And it is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This book is so incredible. It's just beautiful. It's just kind of one of those that I love everything about. The characters, the plot, the writing style. It was unique and gorgeous, and I just highly recommend it. Then we have Snowflower and the Secret Fan, and this was just one of those books that I don't feel like I'll ever forget. It just really was unique, and it was a story that just definitely impacted me, so it had to go on this list. Then in the next 3 spots on the list, I have my 3 Rainbow Rowell books that I have read. They are just so incredible. So the first one is Fangirl, and I have to say this one's probably my favorite out of the 3. And then we have Eleanor and Park, and lastly we have Attachments. They are all such amazing books, like you have to give them a try. Then I have the Harry Potter series because I read it for the first time this year, and of course I fell in love with it. It's just an incredible series, so if you're one of the few people in the world, like I was, who have not read this series, you definitely need to. Then I have The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I read this book in December and it was really good. It was just done really well and I fell in love with the characters. Then I have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is just one of those American classics that I had not read, so I finally read it this year and I absolutely loved it, and I can see why so many people consider it a classic. Next I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It's a fantasy that is done so well. The writing style is great. You should definitely check it out. Then we have The Evolution of Mara Dahire. The series is just insane and totally addicting, so yeah, it was a good sequel. Then I have Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I mean, I just love this series, so any book I read from this series is probably going to be one of my favorites. Then I have The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is another kind of classic that I finally read, and I'm so glad that I did because it was fantastic. And so the final book that I have on my top 13 list is Going Vintage by Lindsay Leavitt. I loved the writing style and the characters. It was just a fantastic contemporary book, so I really want you guys to check it out because it's definitely underrated. And then lastly, I have 5 books that I just really feel are worth mentioning. They didn't quite make it to the top 13 list, but I still feel like they were really good and I still really recommend them. The first one is The Probability of Miracles by Wendy Wunder. Again, I feel like this is a really underrated book, so you really should check it out. And then I have Easy by Tamara Weber. I just can't deny how much I loved this book. I mean, it's a new adult and there's adult content. I didn't really think I would like it as much as I did, but I did. I can't lie. Then I have It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I finally read this book this year. I had heard so many good things about it and it was incredible. You know, it makes me sad to think about this book now because Ned Vizzini actually committed suicide this year. I think it was actually last month that happened. So this book, it kind of makes it mean that much more. I mean, this book is about depression and suicide, and so it makes it a very meaningful book. Not that it wasn't a meaningful one before, it definitely was. This book is really good and I highly recommend checking it out. Next we have Saving June by Hannah Harrington. This was a really well done book. I mean, it's kind of one of those stories that has been done a lot. It's a road trip novel about a girl whose sister dies and she's kind of going to try to find herself and figure things out about her sister. So it's not exactly the most original story, but it was done really well. It was really enjoyable and a great summer read, so I definitely suggest checking it out and seeing if you like it. And the last book that I have to mention in this video is Ashfall by Mike Mullen. It was such an incredible dystopian and one that's like really scary because it's more realistic. I feel like it's something that could really happen. I really loved it, and I think it's a really underrated dystopian book. So that is it for my top books of 2013. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. The first one is The Probability, that's not a word. Didn't quite make it to the top for 13. I just think that this isn't, I can't talk today. I really can't. These are not really these are, oh my gosh.